Order at 2:06. If you'd please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Chair Fowler,
Yes, here.
Greg Passmore,
Here.
Dave Pittman.
Here.
I note Scott Thompson, Tracy Johnstone absent.
Okay, everybody, for the sake of simplicity, item number 1, the committee will elect a chairperson and vice chair for 26 calendar year. We're going to skip that. We had some difficulties, so we might be coming back with that for next month or at the next stated meeting for the committee. With that being said, we're going to move on to hearing of individuals on non-agenda items. This is the time for the public to address the committee about any item not listed on the agenda. If you wish to address the committee on an item listed on the agenda, please follow the directions listed above. Assuming everybody has an agenda. Okay, would anybody from the public like to speak?
I do have one submitted speaker card from Amber.
Okay. Are there any?
Good afternoon, everyone. Amber from the Oroville Chamber. So I have a little handout I'm going to pass out really quick.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of information on kind of how the SBF used to fund the Oroville Chamber and events in general. So I'll kind of just give a brief synopsis of what the handout says, and then you guys have that to review before the next upcoming meeting. So we're just asking for a request for a reconsideration of community event funding. So for some history, the main events in the city, which would include Feather Fiesta Days, 4th of July, Wildflower Nature Festival, Salmon Festival, and Parade of Lights used to be funded through the SBF funding, and the funding went to the Upstate Community Enhancement Foundation. Whenever COVID happened, Yusuf had stepped back from being the event coordinator for these festivals, and since then, Feather River Rec has taken on Wildflower Nature Festival, and the Chamber underneath the OEA has taken on the 4th of July, Feather Fiesta Days, Salmon Festival, and the Parade of Lights, which now includes a craft fair. And since then, the Chamber had also separately gotten funding from SBF for marketing and tourism. So since the COVID time, both the event coordination fees that used to go to USEF and the funding for tourism and marketing that went directly to the Chamber, both of those have dropped off, which does end up having an effect on our organizational structure. So all this partnership helped us produce these large-scale community events, which helped with the economic vitality of the area, tourism, bringing in people from outside of the area to stay the night and experience Oroville, and return visitors over the years. So we know that DWR has authorized approximately $200,000 for moving forward. This was discussed at the last meeting on a potential NOFA for these funds, at which time the committee had decided that those funds would go outside of administration fees to Riverbend Park and the historic downtown district. So we just wanted to provide this information and the historical and current structure context for funding the events specifically, and just ask that you might reconsider event funding through the new funds getting added to the SPF. And that's what I got today. So thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. Any comments? Okay, thank you, Amber. All right. We will go ahead and move on to steering committee, advisory members, and staff comments. DWR?
We've been just dealing with a lot more rain earlier in the season than we expected, so yeah, it's looking, the water picture is looking good for the year. I think there's a future agenda item for the contract, right? Okay.
How about the snowpack?
It has, it's been a bit warm, you know. Anecdotally, I had to cancel a ski trip with my son, so.
Thank you. Anybody else? Claudia?
No, thank you.
We do have Jonathan Young. He is virtual.
Okay.
Does he have anything to say?
Jonathan, did you have anything you'd like to add?
Nothing on my end. Thank you very much.
Okay. So American Rivers is not here. California State Parks, I don't see Aaron. Mark, go over Claudia, which I already asked Claudia. Mark, you have anything to say?
No, just echo what Amber said, that's all. Very
Okay.
important.
Thank you. Bob, you're up.
Okay, actually, my items are included in staff reports, so we can just move forward then.
Okay. So we'll move straight to the consent calendar, approval of the minutes. I'm assuming we've looked at the minutes already. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve the consent calendar as agenda size.
I'll second that.
Call the vote, please.
Motion passes 3 yeses, 2 absent.
Okay, moving to item number 2, quarterly SBF financial update. All financial records of the SBF are maintained by the Finance Department of the City of Oroville. SBF Fund Administrator, the attached is for informational purposes only. Bob, or?
That is-
Actually, no real comment on that. We're just hopeful to move on to the next item and get an approval and begin to get the $200,000 a year out of DWR, at least on an interim basis.
Okay,
Minutes.
so that's just a consensus. We don't need a,
It doesn't really require
okay, very good.
So,
information.
if I may, Chair Fowler, so with when we adopted the consent a minute ago, were we just doing the minutes and not the SBF update? Just for the record, to make sure we have it straight.
Okay,
I know customarily, I know when we do the consent, everything on there, it's a fell swoop approval.
That was my motion.
Okay, I just want to make sure,
Okay.
I want to make sure we got the record straight there. Okay.
Thank you.
any presentations?
No, not today.
Okay, so regular business, item number 3, update on agreement with DWR to provide additional interim funding to the SBF.
Okay. Brian, do you want to take that, or do you want me to?
Go for it.
Huh?
Take
Go
it
ahead.
and do it. Yep.
Okay, so obviously, for many meetings, we've talked about this. The first part of, on page 26 of your packet includes the background as to how the SBF was founded, how the money has flowed, how we ran out of money, how we reached out, the city administrator reached out, and DWR finally came to an agreement. And the agreement was to provide $200,000 per year until the signing of the license. And if repayment will be required of the $200,000. But hypothetically, if we had 2 years getting $400, the first year of the license signing, we would pay $200 back. The second year, we would pay the second $200 back. So it's not like, you know, crash and burn the first year because we gave you too much money up front. So the good news is that we have that. DWR provided a letter of understanding, which is in your packet, and I will tell you the page. Page 39. Basically, probably more legally says what I tried to summarize in a few words, but talks about the fact that the SBF to date had received $11,270,000, which included the construction of phase 1 and 2 of Riverbend Park, a series of NOFAs over a 17-year period, and other costs attributed to that. So the item is for the committee to look at the letter, and then DWR requires a signature from the SBF chairperson, vice chair, David Pittman acting as the mayor of the city of Oroville, Tracy and Scott as representatives of the SBF, Jonathan, and then Scott Turnquist, the manager of DWR. Question for Andy. Are wet signatures required by DWR, or can we do electronic signatures for those that are absent today?
We can do electronic.
Okay, thank you. So if there's any discussion from the committee, at this time we will talk about it. If not, then a motion to accept this, and second.
Okay. Discussion?
Thank you, see, it's a good
I'll second. Okay, any other comment? Call to vote, please.
Motion passes 3 yeses, 2 absent.
Okay, item number 4, NOFA matching funds requirement. The committee will receive information requesting clarification of the previously approved 2026 notice of funds available and matching funds requirement.
Okay, so on page 41 of your packets, the staff report basically talks about the fact that at the October 22nd, 2025 meeting, the committee approved a NOFA in the amount of $200,000, equally divided between 2 reaches of the Feather River Conceptual Plan, number 3, the Historic Downtown District, and number 4, the Riverbend Park area. Unfortunately, at that meeting, I think we're so excited about doing a NOFA that we skipped past any matching requirement. And in the past NOFAs, and the first 2 that were issued way back in 2008 did not require matching funds. The following year, no matching funds. But subsequent years, the matching funds ranged between 25% and 50%. And then the last NOFA approved by the committee in 2021 for $100,000 did not require matching funds. So the question is whether or not the committee would want to include matching funds as the NOFA. As you're thinking about that, obviously the NOFA did not get issued as we had thought we were going to do it in November or December, because we were waiting for the letter of understanding from DWR, and the city administrator, as the fund administrator, and myself felt that it was kind of putting it too soon out into the public before we knew for sure that we really had a letter of understanding and that the money was going to be viable. So once you folks determine if you want matching funds or not, then my next step after we acquire all the signatures, return that document, letter of understanding to DWR, await the contract, which the administrator, the city has to have, which we're hopeful will be a quick time. Once we have the contract in hand, we will then get the NOFA out through a press release and the workshops and all of the things that go into providing funds available to the community.
Okay. Comment?
I have a quick question, just to make sure that we all understand that these funds, if a grantee is awarded the grant, they have to spend the money first and then they get reimbursed. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. These are reimbursable grants,
Okay.
and, you know, kind of an example, the soccer fields, which was over $1 million grant for the initial 3 soccer fields. I went back and pulled the contract when I came in this morning, and it was mute about matching funds. However, the district, through getting dirt for free and grading, they basically pretty much matched dollar for dollar. And after that occurred, subsequent SBF meetings, the discussion came up, we really, if somebody is getting something, they should have some skin in the game, and that's where the matching funds occurred. So every year, with the exception of 3 years on NOFAs, matching funds have been a requirement. And the funds can be cash, or they can be in-kind services, or donations of property. There's various ways for them, the applicant, to provide the matching funds. But at least they have something in it versus the committee paying for it all. And of course, the committee can pay for it all if they want to.
Yeah.
Of course. Passmore?
When you say in-kind services, explain that a little bit.
Okay, in-kind, the soccer fields, they received in-kind services from Butte College for grading. They basically, Butte College rolled their big equipment there. They did the preliminary grading, getting the site prepared. I'm not 100% sure they did the finish, but I know they did the preliminary grading, and that was considered, and they did not ask for reimbursement. For them, it was a learning opportunity for the college, for the equipment operators.
Can we reach out to the others for that sort of in-kind service, or do we have to wait for them to offer?
No, I mean, if you have a project in mind of being, you know, an applicant, the district, or anyone else in the public out here, my opinion, I would start reaching out now and saying, hey, we've got this thing we want to do. We're hoping to apply and get approved. Can you do this? And begin acquiring that information in, you know, in a letter or a memorandum of understanding between you and the person that's going to provide either in-kind services or donate something. Another example would be the Veterans Memorial. The city of Oroville actually donated the land to that project, and they paid to have, I believe, the homes that were on it. Mr. Pittman, were you a fireman then? I think the guys burned them down or something.
True.
But they, you know, that was a huge thing for that particular project.
You know, I have no problem with the buy-in from the grantee, but I think 20% is pretty high for a lot of folks, especially nonprofits. I would be more inclined to 5% with in-kind services as a reasonable amount, because we're going to, across the board, we want to encourage, you know, applicants here, but I think 5% is a more reasonable number than 20.
Could say 5% or more.
Well, yeah, 5% or more. Yeah, that leaves it all, and we want to make it flexible. But 5% and or more or in-kind services, I think would probably be a reasonable way to go. Because I think back about the monies we have allocated, a very high percentage are nonprofits, and nonprofits don't have a lot of cash in the bank. And I hate to draw down their funds just to make this funds, especially when it's a reimbursement style. So they have to upfront the money anyway, and then they get reimbursed later on. So That's my offer.
I'm going to agree, and thank you for that sentiment, because I'm on a number, like you, nonprofits, and with inflation and membership dropping, it's getting more and more difficult to achieve anything these days. So I really do appreciate that 5%. Greg, you have any comments on that?
5% or more,
Okay,
I would agree.
I think that's a good stand.
So you need a motion and a second.
I'll make the motion to ask for a 5% matching or 5% of the grant in-kind and/or in-kind services or more, as you said.
I'll second that.
Call to vote, please.
For clarity, can I confirm? So that's 5% or more for, it could be in-kind services, it could be cash, it could be, and basically 5% or more of skin
Right.
in the game.
Yeah.
Got it.
Exactly. And leave the in-kind services as very flexible.
Yep.
Because there's values out there from volunteers
Your hours,
to
yep.
donations to all kinds of things. And everything, it does have a cash value, though.
It does.
Just depends upon the volunteer values. You know, my volunteer value and your volunteer value. What is that?
Volunteering hours count.
Yep, exactly.
So-
Yep.
Motion passes 3 yeses, 2 absent.
All right.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 5, expiring SBF grant for the Brad Freeman Trail. The SBF Steering Committee will consider extending the grant originally issued on January 16, 2019. That has also had 3 extensions, 22, 23, 25, to the FRPD for completion of the remaining unimproved portion of the Brad Freeman Trail below the Oroville Veterans Memorial, Feather River Nature Center. The initial grant in the amount of $760,000 had previously been extended to the balance of $237,299.59. And in 2023, an amendment was made providing an additional $150,000 for a grand total of $387,299.59. Specifically to the only for construction purposes, the amendment is also set to expire February 1st of this year. The SBF grant contains a sunset clause requiring a grant to be fully funded within 1 year or extended with the approval of the SBF committee. I know we have a speaker on that. Brian?
Thank you. So, as it mentions in the packet, the discussion area, when this project started back in 2019, all parties expected California State Parks to be fully involved. COVID and other items removed California State Parks from the project. I became involved in the project late 23, early 24. There had been hopes that we would be able to move forward with additional grant funding. Based on the most recent estimate of the project cost, the existing balance that has been allocated for this project does not meet the total project cost. We did apply for and get support for the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant. However, state will not release funds for the portions of the project that are on private lands. Whether we have an easement or not, we have gone back and forth to try to work around that. The most recent ask of the district was to identify the percentage of the project that sits on private lands. In order to do so, we would have to come out and do survey and engineer the location of the install. Right now, SBF has put stipulations on how those funds can be spent, and if I am interpreting correctly, they can only be spent on construction. And therefore, the engineering and the surveying would need to be done. The district is not in a position to fund those portions of the project. And at this point, in communication with Bob, the project is underfunded with the funds that have been made available through the SBF. And without additional funding, I don't know how the district moves forward for the completion of this project.
Comment?
Well, I gotta give you, you guys are doing a tough job because that whole project has been complicated for years. I mean, it really is. I think all of us would love to see the project completed. It's a difficult one. I have, I don't know if we could make an amendment for your engineering or your surveying needs. I would be in favor of that because I do know there was private properties for the Gibson family, and there was a will and a trust and so on and so forth. And it was offered to the city at one time, and then the city didn't want it, and it was offered to the rec district. So there's history here all over the place, and some of it good and some of it bad from other folks in the past. So there was one attempt to just go ahead and plow the trail through, and that didn't work very well. So I know it didn't help with the entities involved at the time. I'm kind of like, geez, I'd love to see it done, and wherever we go, I'm happy to support whatever we can. You guys are lead agency on this, and I appreciate all your efforts all the way through it. Go ahead, Greg.
Sure. So Brian, what's the status of our conversations with the private property owners with respect to the trust and before we do any surveys?
So right now, I believe that the district has identified all of the owners, and we have easements in place for all of the properties. So all of that has, I believe that we are prepared to move forward. We've identified owners, we have the easements in place. As far as the funding source that is being discussed has requirements that don't allow those funds to be available for the portion of the project. So it was suggested that they would fund the portions of the project that do not move across the private lands. Mm-hmm. But in order to identify which of those, imagine walking the trail, okay, these 3 feet are on private land. Now we're walking on county property. Now we're back on private land. Now we're on the state property. That's where we need to have an official survey, as well as an engineer is going to need to come in and draft, this is the project. We're going to move 3 degrees to the left to move around this boulder section here and really lay it out before we can identify, well, is the project on private land or not? And I think that could shift mid-project. Hey, we intended to move this boulder section here or to bring in earth to fill around it. That's not working. Now we've moved 10 feet to the left and we're outside. So the easements are actually rather narrow. It's only about 15 feet wide. And the project is going to shift based on what they find mid-project. And so the ask of the state to identify those percentages, I don't have the ability to do right now. And so to give a cost estimate based on percentage in private land versus the public land, I don't have the ability to do that right now.
I know the board has talked about this.
Yeah.
On a number of occasions. Have we reached out to any extra grant funding to help with this project on the outside?
This was the only grant that I've been involved with. This was presented through DWR, made us aware of this and encouraged us to apply, and I felt we had great support from them, and we certainly appreciate that. But as far as the distribution of funds and the state being involved with that, that's where the hang-up is gone. We can continue to explore additional grant funding. I think based on this practice, we can see that it is not immediate by any means, and we'll continue to push this project further out. And as we've seen just since 2019, how the costs have changed based on the original estimate. Every day that we're not building, this project is just increasing exponentially in cost.
Maybe the board can consider a little mini bridge connecting the two ends.
Go ahead, Bob.
So I have 2 questions. In the packet on page 47 is a survey from GDA, which reported with the County of Butte, and it showed who the various owners were, and I had written who the 2 private people were. So there is a survey. It sounds like it needs to be updated. I mean, this is a legal document according to Butte County. So that's my one kind of question. The second, Brian, do you have any feel on what, Brian number one, or two, Brian two, do you have any feel on what the engineering cost would be to go out and stake this and say, this 30 feet belongs to the Clements Trust? Because the worst thing the committee could do, and this is just for the committee, would be to say, okay, you can go ahead and spend money on doing engineering and survey, and all of a sudden, 340 grand's gone, and there's nothing. We went through this prior to 2019, when the first grant was issued. The city and also Feather River Rec had received money to have, can't think of his name.
Melton has
Thank you.
been involved in
Greg
this.
Melton, do the design work and do the portions of the engineering work. So that all got done. You know, then somewhere along the line, there's a recorded document that pretty well clearly shows who owns what piece of property. So if I'm hearing right, it sounds like you need a surveyor to basically put sticks where the things are that the DWR referred to grant requires, and then they'll decide if they'll allow money for everything but those two portions, and then you figure out how to pay for it. But that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Am I misunderstanding it? Or?
No, I think you're correct in those assessments. Regarding the survey from GDA or GOA, we were not clear if that was actually staked out with the exact locations or if they were plus or minus, hey, we expect. Because I think if you walk that area, you can see kind of the natural path of travel that people are using.
Right.
I am not clear if that is this surveyed piece or if there is intent to move left or right, north or south, depending on the obstacles in that. However, if it is the wish of this committee, we can certainly try to get a preliminary estimate on what it would cost to have this survey staked out, and I can report back with that.
Quick question, if I may.
Please.
So I agree. I think if they had pins in there, and then I'm not sure if they put the pins in place, we could probably easily tell or relatively easy tell where the lines are. But beyond that, then for the construction of this, has there been plans made? Is that what you're talking about, the engineering design work?
The engineering, as far as the plans, as far as the Melton piece, I did see some initial design. They were looking at bringing in considerable amount of fill material, and at one point there was conversation about like recycled material, possible rubber with retaining walls and whatnot. The communication that I've seen, again, that conversation was before my time. That was not going to meet engineering standards, so that was abandoned. And at that point, there was change in management with the district, and Melton seemed to be off of the project at that point. So as far as how that direction went, I can't speak to that.
So maybe coming back with the estimates for doing the survey stakes, the engineering costs, and then having maybe all three of those things, surveying, engineering, and construction, is to give the board a full comprehensive understanding of what the costs look like?
So with that, I believe that I can request agencies to provide a preliminary estimate, but I imagine there will be some level of fees associated with bringing them out to perform that scope of work. And as I mentioned, the district is not prepared to fund those type of activities.
Okay.
So the request would be for the committee to possibly make a motion to employ such things?
If there is a desire of the committee to have an official estimate
I guess my question is,
eng-
what is your request for us to make that happen?
In order to make that happen, I believe I would need the committee to authorize funds to pay for that scope of work, to do the survey.
So you have kind of a, let me jump in, you have a double-edged sword.
Yes.
You have a grant that's expiring on Saturday of this week, okay? So once it expires, that money automatically returns to available funds to the SBF. So that's over here. Should you decide to extend it, you could extend it until the next SBF meeting, next quarterly meeting, which would allow time for Brian to acquire that information. But then the third part, I said double-edged, it's apparently a three-way sword. The third part of it is that we have kind of an unknown factor as to what would an estimate cost. Most people that, I shouldn't say most people, well, I would. Estimates generally are free, if it's an estimate, because they're hoping to get the job and do the official work. But, so I guess your motion's gonna have to be either to deny extension, extend it for some period of time. And then thirdly, if you extend it, allow a portion up to a certain dollar amount, and, you know, is it 5,000 or is it 50,000? I don't think anybody knows.
I have a question on the original Melton design. Did it not include boundary surveys?
It did.
And I thought that I remember seeing a
Yeah.
stamp, was it a landscape architect or was that an engineer's stamp on it?
I believe that the original, and I did not bring that file, the original file, Melton's work was for a landscape architect, but it included engineering that both the city and the district paid for.
I believe that's correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. It was like, memory, I want to say between $10,000 and $30,000 got spent for an engineer to do the engineering work. And that's what led to this legal issue that, oh, whoops, this land just doesn't belong to the city or the district. You got a couple of private trusts that own pieces of the land.
And then I have a follow-up question on the request from the other state agency, the state parks, who's administering this LWCF grant fund. Are they requiring surveyor grade detail on the project split? It seems excessive, but as we worked through before, they're not particularly reasonable about this.
So a representative came out and we did a site visit and a site walk. They took photos and we talked more about the project. The crux of the conversation seems to sit at funds will not be released for the portions of the project that sit on private land. And unless the Melton Engineering shows specifically the 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot that passes through those private lands, I don't have the ability, and this is all if we want to continue to go after those funds. It is not a requirement to continue with the project. It is only a requirement to be eligible for those funds. So should we desire to be eligible for those funds, the state is asking with a yellow crayon, draw the sections that are in private and everywhere else draw in blue that is in public. We will fund the blue portion of the project. We will not fund the yellow portion of the project. I do not know how to determine which portions of the project need to be highlighted in yellow. And that is my opinion on why an engineer would need to come back out using the GOA or GDA survey, as well as Mountain's piece, putting all that together, going back and looking at the pinpoints and identifying, okay, exactly which portions of this project sit on the private lands, stake those out, measure them, come up with a percentage, and then reduce my application by that percentage. And again, that is only for the funds. It has nothing to do with moving forward on the project. It is specific to the availability of those funds.
So our experience in trying to solicit those, or seek those same grant funds is if you could find a way to get an approximate answer ahead of time, then you can get the 50% match on those engineering fees and those surveyor fees as part of the, it might not be as exact as surveyors render.
If I heard you correct, use an approximation on what we believe the percentage moving through those private lands.
And then when you're in construction, that's when you determine just which amount of work is in or out. But you've been speaking with those representatives more recently than myself. And that way you could at least shuttle 50% of the engineering and planning and surveying costs through that grant program.
And with that, I follow your thought process there. We would also need to step back and identify, with that reduction in grant funding, where do we sit total project fund, and does that even meet? And again, the estimates that I'm using, I believe 2022 were the most recent estimates that we determined we were underfunded based on that estimate.
I'm inclined to give you a 6-month extension and work out some of these details. And maybe have MDA come, or not GDA, but Milton Group maybe come up and help with identifying the work that they did in the past, and give you some time to work this thing out. I like the 6-month extension, and looking forward to a report back.
I was going to suggest the same thing. I think maybe we can get together at staff level. We can talk about the best way to kind of skin this thing and see if we can come up with at least some ballpark figures. And obviously, then if we need to come back to the full board for more dollars to then do some of that work, then we can do that. But at least I think we can probably run some of these to ground.
Well, Milton's doing a lot of work for us right now, so they're kind of on staff really between Hewitt Park and Bedrock Park. So I think let's extend it 6 months and let everybody work on it. I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Call the vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. You have a struggling project, and I have every appreciation of your work effort.
Okay, what's that?
Okay.
All right, number 4. Any correspondence?
No, not at this time.
Okay, I'll entertain any agenda items for the next meeting. Anything additional?
No, I was going to ask, do we have any updates from FERC?
I reached out to him last week, no response.
Okay. They do have new members. We do know that.
Yeah.
So when you say reach out, what is your method of communication?
Email.
Emails or phone
Email,
calls?
yeah.
Okay.
Weekly.
Okay.
Yeah.
He actually got
It
a
was
response.
weekly, it's about monthly. I'm trying not to be too much of a pest, but I think I've reached that point now, possibly where now I don't always get responses. But I'm just trying to get updates on, is there any progress that I can report back to this body, the council, the community on the FERC license? But I did reach out last week and I have not heard back yet.
You might share the last response they got was about the endangered species issue.
Yeah, it was. That was a number of months ago, but they were saying they were close at that time.
Yeah, and that was before they have the new commissioners.
Correct.
Too, and a new chairman, so.
Correct.
Let's hope.
Very good.
Anything from DWR about that? No news is good news?
Confirm that they are working through the ESA issues.
Okay,
Fish and Wildlife Service.
all right. Thank you.
What appears to be making progress.
Anything else from anybody? Bob?
The 3 items I made note for the next meeting:
Okay.
election of the chair and vice chair. Second, a continued discussion of the Feather River Recreation Park District Brad Freeman Trail. 3 months, we should have some sort of a feel of what is happening. And then obviously a complete update on the NOFA. Our next meeting is in 3 months. Prior to that, the NOFA we'll be releasing the NOFA probably on the cusp of the next meeting. Okay?
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
So before we conclude the meeting, I just want to make an announcement. If you're not aware, Saturday, this coming Saturday at 1:30 p.m. at Riverbend Park, the Native Sons of the Golden West will be doing a historical dedication, educational placards, if you will, on the electric train that ran through Oroville in the early 1900s. So it's free, it's open to the public. I ask everybody to support the event, come down, learn something, have a great time, and get out in the park. With that, thank you.
All right.